is that a particularly tough one to take, the manner in which you've lost that?
Yeah, it's tough to take. Full credit to York, they kept plugging away, kept finding a reason to get to our end of the field and come up with a score. There's a couple of things we're doing to ourselves that can't continue really.
What do you feel ultimately was the difference out there between the two? Because the game went as we expected, a game of very, very fine margins.
I think we gave them a leg up too many times. We at crucial times as well. We gave them a reason to keep fighting. I don't think we managed the game particularly well towards the back end, in the second half. And I think it's as much about us, but we can't keep saying that. We've got to learn from these lessons, and it's when the big games come at the end of the season. We have to be a whole lot better than we were there, a whole lot more resilient.
Just on that sort of game management issue, who does that fall down to, Brian? Because I think at some point in certainly that first half, I think Sam Hallis was running the ball in on tackle 5 close to the line. At times it looked like you weren't kind of alert to where the game was in terms of the tackle count.
Well, it's all of our responsibilities. First, it's the coaching staff to express what they'd like to happen, and then it's convincing the players that if they do those kind of things, they'll generally get a result. I think we went away from a lot of the things that we do well, and I think it's important that this lesson now, halfway through the season, we're halfway, has to be driven home, and it will be tomorrow.
When you talk about the impact of errors, Jordan Lilly not dealing with the ball under the post, which leads to Arthur's try, and I think after Guy Armitage has scored, you've then got Ronan Michael putting his foot on the dead ball line. These errors, Brian, is this something that you're going to have to bang heads together to iron out of the side? Because fundamentally these errors are hurting the side.
Well, it's still a growing group, and the one thing I will say is that there's been a lot of latitude about how we should play and what we want to do, and we've scored a lot of points this season. And the reality is we can't continue to concede 18, 20, 22 points and come away with big wins, big results. So we've got some lessons there, clearly. And we've also got some lessons as to the amount of patience that we show at the right end of the field. It was disappointing, but we will reflect on the fact that I think they're the pace setters, York. Now they've been recently. We get them again in 3 weeks' time. But in the meantime, we've got a heck of a lot of work. We've got some work to do initially in the short term to get ready for Friday night and the Battle of the Bulldogs. Taking
nothing away from York here, Brian, is there a sense in the dressing room that this has been a bit self-inflicted this afternoon?
I think that's the right word. Self-harm, use what you want, self-harm, not recognising what's going on in a game against a good team. And I've said it before on many occasions, some dogs will take the bone off you when you're offering it, and they did.
On those missed opportunities, certainly in that first half, there were 4 consecutive sets, Brian, with penalties and a goal line dropout forced. How much work do you feel that there is after today on better execution in sort of like those high pressure situations where you are coming up against a stronger, more defensively efficient side like the York Knights?
Well, I'm certainly not going to throw the baby away with the bathwater, as I said. We did a lot of good things today. To get ourselves back into a leading position should have been the end of the story. But again, it's against good teams. We're the element of distraction we're causing ourselves and the amount of pressure we're putting on ourselves with things that are in our control. Is it irrational? I don't know. It's certainly not measured properly. We're just hurting ourselves too much. I think there's a lack of respect for the game of rugby league in many respects. We've got a lot of talent. We want to show that talent. We want to play good football for our fans. But I think our fans sometimes appreciate a little bit more. Just let's play some rugby tough.
You clearly see at the end when Scott Galliano crosses for the winning try, the sort of crestfallen nature, what that means emotionally to the players, Brian.
They're a group that care. I've absolutely no doubt of the sentiments and the sentimentalities of all of the players. They care and they want to win. They're fit. You know, it's not a fitness issue. It's a concentration issue in many respects, and we've got to cure that one if we want to be successful this year as we do.
I know you value your money, Brian, but on the face of it, there was some 50-50 decisions that certainly went against Bradford. You look at the Ato Hingano try, Ollie Field on the replay clearly impedes and pushes James Meadows down under the nose of the referee, and that try's awarded. That's clearly frustrating for you and your players to see that, because to the letter of the law, that should be no try and a penalty.
Yeah, there's a couple of incidents like that, but we can't dictate what referees do and don't do. We can only dictate what our actions are, and in the end we still need to cover that, or get in a position where we can cover that, and we didn't, and that's why it's an element of sadness about the story and about the result. There were some good things that we did that we'll take into Friday night, but we don't get to salt one. You know, we'll have one session and then we'll be on it.
Tom Holmes' first game back in 12, certainly when you look at the run that he made, which ultimately led to Guy Armitage's second, look good. Some of that's been missing.
Well, for someone that's been out for a long time to make that kind of impact, he's got some wheels, hasn't he, Tom? And that helps us. We picked up another injury today to Mitch Suter quite early on in the game. We'll see how he is, but it does look good. Yeah, a few bumps and bruises. That was a tough game today, but probably emotionally tough, because I think we got ourselves into a position where perhaps with a bit better game management we would have kicked on.
Obviously after that semi-final defeat there was emotions high, and you know, maybe a bit of pride then. Are you sensing same again today, Brian, that this, not that there's going to be much fallout or chance for fallout, because you're here again in 5 days' time against Batley?
I think there's some things we need to recognise that really help us. Once we do that, the team will be a whole lot healthier. I mentioned it earlier in the interview. You can't go to big games with an expectancy of winning by doing X, Y and Z. You've got to do the ABCs first. And if we do that, I'm pretty confident we're as good as anybody in this division.
You said Mitch Suter went off. Do we know what it is, Brian? Or
it's a shoulder injury.
Late on in that game, you see a high tackle on Wonga Blake, which is placed on report but not penalised. Wonga Blake then leaves the field. HIA, is he looking okay? Or?
Yeah, he's passed his HIA. Again, if there's a head-high tackle that's on report, then why is it not a penalty? But you drag him in too. I don't want to say too much about the decisions that we didn't get today. There were plenty of decisions that we could have made that would have made the game better.
I know you value your money, Brian. I'm sorry for kind of pointing them out. Yeah. I guess from my point of view, when we've got the ability of 4 cameras and replays, it does look bad.
Yeah, it looks glaring mistakes, don't they? They look glaring.
Is it fair to say then you'll pick up the phone and speak to Phil Benth and Paul Cullen about what you've seen today, or are you just gonna bite your lip and?
It doesn't do any good. The reality is I've picked the phone up a couple of times to different people this year, and nothing changes. We just got to hope that, you know, we get the rub of the green in decisions going for us or decisions not going for us. You know, at the end of the day, we could have been better in defending some of those decisions, and we weren't. And that's the mantra we've got to go with. We've got to defend anything that comes our way. And right at the death there, you know, we got dudded by a scrum play that we shouldn't have got dudded by. So we need to look at that and make sure that doesn't happen again.
James Donaldson, Kieran Gill didn't feature, Brian. Are you able to expand on what's up with them and how long likely they are to be out?
Well, I think James Donaldson's going to be a while. Kieran Gill's done some running today, so not too long, maybe 1-2 weeks. Mitch Suter, we don't know. Bailey Luke picked up an injury a couple of weeks ago, so he's limping around a little bit. So we're down to our last 18 or 19 players, but that certainly isn't an excuse today. We had enough to come away with the result, and we didn't. We shot ourselves in the foot. Big start.
Do you think Luke Hooley might have a chance for Friday against Batley?
I'm hoping so, yeah, definitely.
And the fact it is a 5-day turnaround, Brian? Do you think that helps you moving forward? That the disappointment of today can be rectified on Friday night?
Well, I would hope that the players feel similarly to how we all feel. I would hope that, and I'm confident that they will. We have to take some actions about Friday's performance, and it'll be an interesting review tomorrow.
And just a final one, you are down to the final 18, so I guess if anybody, in your opinion or Lee Greenwood's opinion, has performed below the required standard, you're not blessed with being able to change things up at this stage.
No, that's true.
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned it and you talked about throwing York a bone. Like it's free because York don't throw anyone a bone normally. Is that so frustrating, the fact that you were ahead twice, you'd gone 12-6, you'd gone 18-16 and then didn't hold on. You got there and then it was gone, especially obviously the one at the end as well.
Yeah, I thought we managed, particularly that last 10 minutes, we didn't manage the game well enough. Again, we had a couple of calls that went against us that on any other day might not have gone against us, but we have to be, if you want to win big games, you've got to be able to defend your chalk when it matters. And in the end, we conceded what I'd call a soft try after a lot of effort, 2 or 3 sets on our own line. So I know the mitigating circumstances, but the truth of the matter is that we didn't manage the end of that game very well. And we were in a position to come away with the points, but it's halfway through the season. It's something that we can rectify when we get to big games, and Friday won't be any different. It'll be just the same down here against Batley. They always come here and throw the baseball bats at us and expect a result. So we've got to respond.
You said you got good done off that soft try at the end, Brian. Obviously, 2 minutes earlier you flying up the field looking like getting a clincher and Blake was in full flow and he got that high tackle. Obviously, was that one reshuffle too many? That right edge get disrupted, Rowan having to come on and Blake off and no natural centre there, or was it just that whoever was there should have defended that better off that scrum play?
Yeah, we double look at the pictures and a couple of people will be disappointed, and so they should be. You can't hide from it. We're an honest group. We'll put our hands up, and at times I thought we lacked a little bit of urgency when the ball was particularly on the floor. And that's not us. Normally we scrap them better than anybody else. But so there's a few uncomfortable pictures to see tomorrow in a game that was always going to be tight. Confident team, they're the team to beat at the moment. They're the ones setting the standards. I'm disappointed we didn't do better today. Yeah.
How do you see these? You mentioned to me at Tom on Wednesday that you feel like York are one of the top 3 teams in the division.
Yeah.
And it felt like one of those games where it was 2 top teams going hammer and tongs. Do those games become 4-pointers now, or is it just a case of you got to, like, cause it's one of those games, you wouldn't want to lose to anyone, but does it make it more frustrating because it feels like 2 of the top teams and the other one's just not on the wrong end of it?
Halfway through the season, I don't think that decisive games in that. I think it's too early. I think everybody wants to be playing their best football the last 5 or 6 rounds, but in the meantime you've got to pick games up that you would expect to win. We're disappointed because we've lost at home. That's the disappointing aspect against a good team. But as I've been speaking about before, I think a bit of self-implosion today didn't help us. And part and parcel of being stronger together and getting better is understanding when to play and when not to play.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Mick mentioned Gillian, Donaldson there. Obviously, Jordan was one of the ones that went off against Doncaster that came back. Obviously, what did you make of him? Was he 100%? Did he sort of put himself forward to play? How did Jordan's game go, did you feel? Was he affected at all by what happened at Doncaster in terms of his injury? Or?
No, but you put yourself out there, yeah. you don't get that kind of injury pass, if you like, from me. And I thought Jordan was good today. I thought he went into the middle when we had to make a change with Mitch. He went off and wasn't coming back. And I think he gave us a lot of energy and enthusiasm around there. Tom Holmes looked exciting, and I just think we just need to join up on the lexicon and some of the things that we didn't join up today.
You mentioned that reach when Mitch went off, and it meant, like you said, that Tom came in and went to full back. Yeah, he had a real spark. I was really impressed by it, especially someone not played for so long. You mentioned that Luke might have a chance for Batley. How exciting is that potential battle between 2 really class players that can go at it and try and fight for that full back spot?
We need all our players on deck.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all of them. We've got too many out. That's the vagaries of this competition, but we want to be in a position where we've got competition for places, and we want people wanting to play for all the right reasons. It makes it a little bit more difficult when you can't shuffle things around, and we're seeing elements of that. Today's game was just a stressful game, wasn't it, that we didn't handle too well, and I think there's some huge lessons for us in this still to learn as a new team as such, so let's hope we take those on board.
You mentioned that it's hard to shuffle because you saw down numbers. With that in mind, were you pleased that sort of Conrad managed to last the full 80 and do a decent-ish job on debut? What did you make of Conrad's debut for you today?
Yeah, it was okay, wasn't it? I think he hasn't played for a while, and I think that was noticeable, but he certainly wasn't an issue for us. I think he'll get better the more and more games that he plays, and certainly I'm hoping that. But yeah, he'll be as disappointed as the rest of us. They're tough defeats, those, aren't they? They're ones that you think, oh, we're over the line, and all we're going to do is run the ball into a corner and defend a set, and it didn't happen that way, did it? We gave them a reason to come back to our end of the field and weren't quite resilient enough.
And with the turnaround, is that not necessarily no bad thing? It's only 5 days to hopefully try and put things right. You're not stewing on this too much because you can't. You've got to move straight on, that makes sense.
I hope they shoot tonight, and I hope they shoot tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, when we show how we damaged ourselves in many respects, there's an easier way to play this game of rugby league, even in big games, to give yourself a better chance. And whilst disappointed as I am today, I'd rather it come now, halfway through the season, than in a big game at the back end.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Cheers.
Pleasure.